Good morning, everyone. I am really excited to see you here today. We are. And if you're here to learn about ways to accelerate user research with Gen AI, then you are in the right place. My name is Natalia Rusivicoya, and he is
Jason Tellner.
And on this project, we also work with Jennifer Hatfield. She's not here, but she's a design principal at IBM. So a little bit of background. We know that website performance is important. It's load times, and image issues can significantly affect the user engagement. We also know that users are less tolerant to mobile experiences that are poor, and a large percentage of users will deter from coming back to a website if they encounter a bad user experience. So user research on AI is essential for creating AI systems that are not only functional, but are also user-friendly, trustworthy, and ethical. And by understanding how users interact with AI and addressing their needs and concerns, user researchers can support the development of AI technologies and enhance human capabilities and enhance those experiences that we are hoping to achieve. So when we think about user research, we think about systematic methodologies that allow us to understand, is this of value to the user? Is this something that they can actually use? Is this something that they have to use or they want to use? And we want to get to a point that this is something that they look forward to use. Experiences are not based on placing features together. Experiences should look at the context of use and identify the value that they have, understand what are their needs or challenges, and understand how they can make users love what they are doing. User value needs to be timely. And to mitigate the negative effects of delayed research outcomes, it's important to look at different strategies that will help us to provide that value faster. But we need to be careful. We need to look at the speed and the trade-offs of those opportunities. So we need to get more familiar with the tools that have become available to understand how they work and how we might be able to use them.
All right. Well, so the speed and scale that generative AI is moving has created an unprecedented opportunity for us. So the IDC estimates that the AI services market is actually going to double from 36 billion in 2023 to 65 billion in 2026. So as these numbers indicate, AI is going to mainstream in business, but however, with productivity gains also comes substantial risks that come with that. 79% of executives say that their organization is challenged with ensuring that their AI models are responsible, secure, and free from discrimination, and risks. So over the years of AI experience, it's shown us that getting to the enterprise scale of AI requires composable, multi-step strategies and human-centric principled approaches. So large enterprises, a lot of them are already realizing generative AI has a lot of different benefits at scale. So you can see all these different companies that are using generative AI. There's a whole wide range of them. So one question we ask is, how many of you use Gen AI to augment your work? I'm just wondering, can we get a recent show of hands to see that? And what do people think the effect of Gen AI is on their work? Anyone have any ideas? How is it impacting your work? Maybe one volunteer. Yep.
So it can generate summaries of things very quickly, but you still have to go back and double check.
For sure. Absolutely.
You can generate summaries of, like, if you're doing an interview, right, then it'll generate a summary depending on what you're using.
So while it holds a lot of promise for advancing research and solving some complex problems, we do have legitimate concerns about its potential impact on our work, our careers, and society as a whole. So we need to address these concerns, and this is going to be essential for ensuring the development of Gen AI is guided by ethical principles and also serves our best interest. So there's a lot of different tools you can see that are already available for researchers, and they have access to many of these. So you may be familiar with quite a few of these tools. A lot of them are free of charge, so you can just go online and find them and use them. And some of them, like ChatGPT and Watson X, have free versions, but their enterprise versions actually require subscriptions, so they do have a fee associated with these. And some of these tools are actually integrated with very common products that we use every day, like Microsoft Copilot, and ChatGPT is integrated with the Apple iOS. So a lot of them are integrated in the tools that we use every day.
So think for a moment, based on the understanding that you have, how can Gen AI be used in user research activities? And you don't have to talk, but you can scan this and just, how do you think the Gen AI could be used in or different activities? I'm gonna highlight this so we can see the responses of what people think we should use generative AI or we could. Drafting questions, first draft analysis, faster analysis, any other ideas? We have many people who was using AI at the beginning. How did you use it? This talk is an opportunity for us to share what we learn and for all of us to learn from each other. So this is great. Synthesis seems to be a big one. Question generation. Structuring outlines, transcripts, faster synthesis. Awesome. Thank you for this. So, this slide highlights generative AI can slightly enhance user research and reporting processes. It outlines capabilities in customizing research templates, providing methodology feedback, aiding literature reviews, ensuring compliance with different policies in your organization. Some of the organizations have embedded chats that will allow you to do that. Customize research activities, can transcribe content, create visual aids, clean data, extract key features. It can help you with the analysis, content analysis, predictive modeling, competitive analysis. For reporting, AI can summarize findings, tailor recommendations. Some people use it to find another way to say what you want to say in a very simple way. It could help you with languages for different audience and show different ways to improve efficiency and effectiveness across your different research activities. So today, we are going to take a minute to talk about these three different activities that you could do using generative AI. So I want you to scan these and think about what kind of prompts will you use if you were to use generative AI to identify a user analysis or to identify a persona or user development. Remember, there is no right or wrong answer. You can just, we're going to actually demo one of them. So please take a moment to write those prompts. And I believe you can also vote on them when you write them, so you can see everyone's prompts on the post. If you haven't done it before, if you haven't used this for like developing a user journey or a persona or a survey, it's okay. How would you do it? So some people say, I will do all for myself. Can you please generate a persona based on the following interview? Generate persona 5-year-old who wants to use robots and building systems and teaching. So we see different ways to do it, right? You might be saying, based on this interview, so you are training the system with some preliminary data and you're not based on like what the system knows. Or you might just saying, just generate this persona with the information that you have, but maybe you're questioning where this information is coming from. So there are different approaches that we see in here. So now we are going to demonstrate, Jason is going to demonstrate how we can do this by actually feeding the system with data. So I am going to say, or he's going to say, based on this interview, help me to generate a user journey analysis. So I'm going to let you do the demonstration. It's in the projection.
Is it in here?
It's in there.
Oh, got it.
So,
Yeah, I see it. I got it.
the first one. So this is ChatGPT 4.0. As you saw at the beginning, there are many other ones that you could use.
So here's our prompt that we're putting in to create a user journey for the following interview. And we're actually going to be feeding it the data. I'll just use this. Oh, so I have to drag it over here.
Would it be possible to make the text larger or that it could be view or something?
Will it be possible to make the text? Can we maximize the screen?
The browser.
So I just put in the data. So we put in
I
our
think
prompt.
he can help us. But...
Yeah, and then I plunked in all the data from our interview. So the interview questions and the user responses, and it's going to create our user journey map from that info that we fed ChatGPT. So we're doing this in ChatGPT. Maybe we should, if we can make the output bigger. So it's giving us the output now of the user journey map. Oh wait, actually no, we're still putting in the data. It's still processing all the information that I pasted in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So we are feeding it.
Okay.
So we are feeding it with the information that we have, rather than just telling them, create a user journey for this type of person.
So now you can see it better. Yeah. So you can see it's all the data. And if we scroll down, now it's processing it. So here's the user journey for legal contracts administrator at company A. So here are all the steps. So this is actually based on the interview data that we inputted to it. So you can see it's creating all the different steps: request initiation, requirements gathering, and all the sub parts of that journey: drafting the contract, the legal review, negotiating and review, finalization, education and management, contract storage and tracking. And then it has a pain points and wish list. So it's actually giving us a variety of different pain points as well as a wish list for this journey. So the user journey highlights the key steps, tools, pain points, and desired improvements for legal contract administrators. So this seems pretty useful, and I think it's much more detailed because we actually fed it data compared to if we just put in the prompt with no data. We're getting a very detailed journey map here. No images, however, but we are getting some very detailed information.
Now, we only input one interview, but you might have 11 or 15. And this is when it could be really helpful because it will help you to revise. You were in those interviews. You know what those interviews said. You know what happened in those interviews. So it is going to help you to synthesize data faster. And obviously, you will have to review that.
Sorry. So now we're going to try a different one, which is the persona interviews. So this is going to be creating a persona based on an interview. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this in, and hopefully I don't have to restart it, that it doesn't use what I used prior.
You can copy the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Like from the prompt to the interview.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through.
Start at the prompt.
Oh, but I put it in already. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm now pasting in the
Oh no, it's.
the interview stuff.
I think it's thinking that
Yeah. So
you have the prior interview.
This is kind of interesting because I think it thinks that I didn't put any data, so we'll see what.
Something interesting that you see here is also the image recognition, because we copy and paste something from a Word document. Now, this little box that you see there it also took a picture of where you got this information from. So we can close that little box. We don't need it. Yes.
So I may want to try repasting this because I did it in two parts. Do you think that? Yeah. So I'll try another paste. So here I have the prompt with all the data in it. Is it working?
It takes longer when you have images, so you need to close the image.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, yeah.
All right, so here we have the persona with the data all put in together.
Another thing that you can do is delete the history of each of the prompts that you have, so it doesn't contaminate with something that you have previously that might not be relevant, and it's not looking back to your history to see, do we know anything else about this persona?
I don't know if it's, there we go. Okay, so based on the provided interview, here is a detailed persona for Senior Network Work Operations Engineer. So it's always good to put the prompt in with your data in the same input, because otherwise you're probably going to get an output just based on the prompt. And then if you put in the data after, as I did before, you'll get something different. So it's good to put them on all together, at least for ChatGPT. So here you can see it's giving me different personas based on the prompt and the data. So we have persona for Senior Network Operations Engineer. We have a name, we have a job title, we have demographic information like age, education, experience, and then we have responsibilities. So it's pretty detailed. We have tools that are used in their work, typical day even, like what are the different activities they do throughout the day. And then challenges as well, communication, documentation, improvements desired, advice for newcomers. And then it's creating another one as well. We don't have any images. So generally, like when we envision personas, we envision like a picture of a person that would represent them with all kind of a summary of their demographic stuff and key tasks and all that. So this is kind of giving us the textual information, but we don't have the images. So, maybe one of the places it could improve in the future, but it's still, the information I think is still pretty useful that can be used
Right, and when you look at the interview, it will have those sections that you will ask for a persona research, right? Like, what are your current responsibilities, your current pain points, your motivations, what tools do you use? And those are the sections that it is creating because you're feeding the model with the data that you have from your interviews. Again, you should be familiar with these interviews because you did those interviews.
So we're going to move on to our last one, just in the interest of time. So this is the survey. So we're going to provide guidance to Kano to evaluate 3 capabilities. So it's a survey: ability to connect to hybrid systems, ability to respond to in 3 languages, and ability to manage user profiles is the prompt.
So basically, if you haven't done a Kano survey before and you're wondering, how do I structure a Kano survey? And you have 3 capabilities that you want to assess. So then you will ask for help of how should I structure this survey.
So now I'm going to stick in my survey prompt along with my data that it's based on.
Close the picture.
And maybe I should remove the image that was there.
Oh, yeah, the
It's
output
probably
is there.
fine.
Oh, I think you pasted the solution also.
Did I? I thought I put in the
Yep.
data.
Let's see. Yeah, so, yeah.
Oh, oops.
It's okay. Oh, actually, for this prompt, we only need the actual prompt.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
for this prompt, we are only going to see provide guidance to evaluate these 3 different capabilities in a Kano survey. That's the only question. So copy, paste
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So this one here, we didn't actually have any data for this particular one. So I'm just going to paste in the prompt.
Close the picture.
And oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're familiar with the Kano, you might know, you can scroll up to see the output. Oh, it hasn't. Okay.
So it's providing the detailed approach to evaluate the 3 capabilities using the Kano model.
So then it will start explaining you have 3 capabilities that you want to assess. And then you need to define these capabilities clearly. And you're going to be asking some functional and dysfunctional questions. How do you feel about, how do you feel if the system can connect to, like the first capability that you said that you wanted to assess? And then you have a dysfunctional question. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Kano study, but what it does is it uses the dysfunctional and functional responses to understand whether this is a must-have, an attractive feature, a feature that might enhance performance, or a feature that people is indifferent, or no, you should reverse, don't do this. So it will provide you some feedback on that, and then conduct the survey, analyze. This is how you will analyze the responses. This is what these things mean. And this is how you will interpret the results of your survey. So it can be a research aid if I don't know how to do a Kano survey, but I might still need to do some research. For instance, one thing that you might need to know about the Kano survey is the magnitude of importance of that capability. It didn't ask there for the importance. And it also didn't say that I could ask open questions to get more context of why is this so important to you. So it's an aid for you to do your work, but it's not the only thing that you should base yourself on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So now, oh, did we close the presentation? It's here. Okie doke.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we tried this before. We want to show you some of the outputs. So basically, we're going to be divided up into 3 different groups, and everyone has the printouts on their desk for you're either have a user journey analysis. So basically, it's kind of every 2 rows. So if you don't have a printout, then it's either the row in front of you or in back of you. So you're either a user journey analysis, a persona, or survey development and feedback. So essentially, you're going to be using the sticky notes you have, and you're going to be providing feedback on the output that you got for those in terms of the things that you like and the things that you dislike. And then what you'd like to do is, so it's a love kind of breakup activity. So the things that you like about it, you're gonna note that, and then the things you dislike about it, or sort of breakup type of things, you're gonna put those on other stickies, and then we're gonna go through and categorize them, and then have one person maybe review them at the end. We're going to do that at the end.
Sounds good. So turn around or just face the people that is behind you, introduce yourselves. And in this package, you will see the output of ChatGPT, of Watson X, and Copilot. So you can have the chance to see the output in those 3 different ones. And you're going to notice that you have 2 different papers. So we are gonna label these papers love and break up. So if you have, as an example of this, is if I were to write this about Coca-Cola, I might say, Coca-Cola, I love your portability. I love that I can find you at the gas station, at the shopping mall, at a party, or in a park. And I might say, Coca-Cola, I want to break up with you because you're staining my teeth, or because you're creating acid in my stomach. So we want to grab these outputs that you have, and you're going to say what you love and what are the things that you will break up with these different systems because any reason.
Maybe I should walk around and see if anyone has any questions.
Yeah. So for this activity,
so I'm going to walk around and just see if people have any questions or.
Yeah. For this activity, please pay attention for a second.
You guys are okay?
For this activity, we want to make sure that we don't say no to somebody. If somebody thinks, no, you shouldn't write that, ignore that. Just say yes and. Don't dismiss anyone's input. Right before you talk, there are no bad ideas. We are not trying to test anyone. We're trying to share the knowledge between us and to meet the people that is working on similar things. Everyone participate, stay engaged, and if you're ready, you can start.
You guys are doing the survey? Yeah. So there's going to be different, there's different outputs. So you have different software. You're going to go through each one, look at the prompt, look at the output, and then just know.
Our first step is going to be review the package.
Dislike about it, like what are your breakup issues?
So we're going to review the package, ChatGPT, Watson X, Copilot outputs.
There's the prompt.
And we're going to write sticky notes that say why I love this and why I will break up with you.
Sorry? 10, 15 minutes. Yeah.
Remember that this is also an opportunity to introduce ourselves and to meet. No?
Okay, so you guys are doing the
and we have
persona.
10 minutes for this activity.
You have a prompt. And you have three different applications you're feeding the persona into. So you got Watson X, you have Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and you have one other. What's on there?
We don't have more free now.
NetApps, yeah, okay. So basically, you're going to go through each one. You're going to look at the prompt. You're going to look at the output it gives you. You're going to note the things you love about it and the things you don't like about it or are breakup sort of issues for you. You're going to note those, and then you're going to go through and categorize like the different themes, and then we're going to review it at the end, like for each one. Okay.
Copilot and Watson X. You're going to look at the outputs for.
Yeah, you could sort of read it quickly, the raw data, to get a sense of what it was actually fed. And then you're going to go through and look at the output. Yeah. 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 That's all we're trying to figure out. And then like you have it for all three of them. So you could sort of compare like, you know, is Copilot providing like more relevant stuff than what, you know, some of the Watson X is giving, for example, or Watson X maybe is more accurate or, you know. Okay.
Hi, do we have any
You're welcome.
questions? Are we good?
Any, you guys need any help or have any questions, or are you clear? You guys are okay? Okay, great.
Did you have any questions? Okay.
You guys are okay? You have any questions or anything? You know what you're doing? You're good? Okay.
Yes. So we have three different outputs. One is from ChatGPT.
You guys are okay? Do you have any
Watson X,
questions? You know what you're
Copilot.
doing?
And we introduce a prompt.
Yeah, love hate for
Right?
each
And
one. So
we
you
are
got the
gonna,
prompt and you got three
based on
different.
that,
You guys are
say
doing
what
which
we
one? The
love
journey map or?
about any of them, like
Yeah.
ChatGPT, I love you're doing X.
Oh, okay.
and
So you guys
Y.
are working together and you're just
Or
gonna.
ChatGPT,
Yeah.
I'm gonna break
It's
up
fine.
with you because
Okay.
I don't
And then you'll
like
come together.
this.
That's fine.
And for
Okay.
for all of them, you know, for
Everyone okay here? Everyone know what they're doing? Any questions? Yep.
the
Nope.
output.
Okay. Everyone okay here? Everyone know what they're doing? Question? Okay. You're confused? Okay. So you guys are doing the user journey. Okay. So you have your prompt and your data, and then you have three different applications that are going to be, you know, giving you your output for your journey data. So you have Copilot, and then I think you have
Hi, did you have any
Watson
questions?
ChatGPT. So you're going to go through each one
No?
with the prompt and the output that you have, and then you're going to note what you like about it, what you or love about it, what you don't like about it, like what's a from each one, what's the breakup issue, okay, and then you're going to review them and categorize sort of the different themes you found, and that's it, and then we'll review it. Just note like which one was from which application. So like you love this about Copilot, you dislike this about Watson.
So remember,
X or
we
whatever.
have the output of three
Okay.
things. That is ChatGPT, Watson X, and Copilot.
Okay. I think everyone knows what they're doing.
And we have 6 more minutes.
Oh, those are your kids. That's cute.
Oh, yeah, and
Yeah.
also a timer.
Okay, very cute. Yep.
Hi.
Hey, we just got the explanation of what to do.
Okay, great. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Okay. We're thinking about making columns. Is that okay?
We have 2 papers, so you can have one with love and the other one with breakup.
And then that one could have 3 columns.
And yeah, you can have 3 columns, or you can say, ChatGPT, I love X and Y about you, or ChatGPT, I am going to break up.
The output.
It's up to you, the way that works best for you. Probably that option is better because you don't have to write it many times. And we have 5 more minutes.
So now we're just gonna have each group, like one person volunteer to review what they found, like the different things. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
Thank you for taking pictures. I can't wait to see them. I don't
Let's
think
connect
so.
it. I'm going to share it, right, with all the pictures of.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, Michael.
we have 3 more minutes.
There we go.
Awesome.
So I'm taking them for UXP, so I'm going to share them with you.
Okay.
Photos. Not all of them will be good, but you have a few good
Yeah,
ones.
yeah, thanks.
It's a good idea to have this one, so that's super cool.
Thanks.
Sorry. Yeah, that would be good when they volunteer. Yeah, their like results. That would be great. Like one person.
We have 2 more minutes.
Thank you. So he's going to go around like each group, so one person will talk to the microphone when they review it.
Okay.
That will work.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm going to change the slide to now closer
Okay, sounds good.
in 1.49.
Okay.
Okay, we have 1 more minute. Shall I say 35 seconds?
Yeah, 30 seconds. Yeah.
So now we are going to start clustering information. We're going to start looking at, are there any patterns that we see in the stickies that we are placing? Let's review our information. It's 10 minutes. And we're going to review our information and we're going to see, are there any common stickies that we see in here? Are there any key topics that we see in here? And we're going to pick one representative from our team to talk about your experience and what you found in the review that you did. So take these 5 minutes to cluster information, review the content, and select one speaker per team. This is fun.
Sorry?
I am enjoying this.
It's good, yeah. And then we'll have like 10 minutes for questions. Yeah, it's good.
5.
5, yeah. Which, yeah, they have to each discuss their, so we have like 19 minutes or so. Yeah.
So after this square, they will have one speaker per team. And
Okay, I'll just go to these.
so we're clustering information, see key topics that seem to come up or emerge from your review, and select one speaker.
So I think he mentions that the content comes into the software.
We have 2 more minutes. Remember, select the speaker, the person who's gonna share the insights with everyone today. We have 1 more minute. Remember to select your speaker. Okay, so now we are gonna use this time to share what we learned or reviews. I know we didn't have a lot of time to have a extensive review of things, but this is a perfect moment to share what we learned, what we think, and learn from each other. So we can start on this side. Who is ready? Who is this? If you are a speaker, raise your hand. The speaker of your team, raise your hand. Okay. Do you want to start? Awesome. So he's going to give you a microphone. Please say who you are, what did you review, and what your team found.
I know. All right. So we did the Kano model, which none of us really knew what that was. So I'll just kind of start by saying that as we did a love-hate relationship with it. So things that we loved about these are that they gave examples of what the model does in the responses, the tone and clarity of the text that it provided, that it was simple, the instructions were simple and easy to follow, and that it was efficient if you're just starting off. And things that we hated about it. So although we loved that it was simple, we also hated that it was pretty basic. So it's kind of two sides of the same coin there. It had a lot of typos and missing info, which wasn't great for us. And kind of onto that too was like the formatting wasn't so great. And those were like the main things I think that we all hated about we did 3 different versions of it. So there was a Watson, a Chat GPT, and a Copilot version. So we split up between the 3, although I don't know if we were supposed to, but we did.
Great. Thank you so much. Who will be your next speaker? Where's your next team? Who is the... Okay, great.
We had a lot more no's than yeses. I have the microphone. So we didn't love.
Which one did you do?
Which one?
What was the activity? And just talk about the
personas.
Okay.
Personas. I got confused with the options. Okay, so we did not love the outputs of any of our personas. There was one that had bullet points. That was okay. We didn't like any of the paragraphs. We didn't like any of the wild conclusions. We didn't like that it was only based on one persona. So we came to some conclusions. Flip it over. We are not ready to use this yet, but if we were, we would want a multi-step process where first we were able to create the framework for the persona. Then it was able to ingest multiple interviews and decide, like cluster, like what are there 4 personas here? What are those 4 personas? I have a question about, can the tool differentiate between just like role-based personas and more nuanced groups? Like, can it even do that? And then once it did, then, okay, so I gave you 12 interviews, make the personas themselves in that template we just created based on which interviews go to which persona. And then finally, at the end, we want to evaluate and refine because we're still never going to accept that first answer. So we broke the process, but then we almost fixed it. Maybe.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Okay, who's going to be your next speaker? We have one here and another one there. Or...
Okay, so we did user journeys, and we didn't really have a time to compare. We broke into 3 groups, and each kind of reflected on what we saw. But the first things that we thought about, the user journey that we had is about legal contracts, and we actually don't know anything about that. So we couldn't really evaluate whether what we were getting back was useful information or not. So, obviously you would have to have been in the interviews, you've been doing other discovery to understand legal contracts and processes to even know that the journey was right. We kind of wish that you had done something like on shopping, something everybody knows, so we could have reflected, just in case you do this again. So, but the things we thought, so ChatGPT had a very clean interface in its readout, so we liked that. It was very easy to kind of jump through the bullet points. Copilot was a good general guide. And then for Watson, we said that it was fast and organized, and it had acts as a good first draft. But what we didn't like was none of them talked about the level of effort that the people were going through when they were going through their process. None of them said, like, did they falter? Did they have trouble? No emotional input at all. And it didn't talk about, like, were they successful in the task they just left? So that was a big problem, because we don't even know how to evaluate the journey that we came back to. So it's a good step. I mean, and definitely we talked about the fact that if we were doing it ourselves, we would of course follow up with more prompts, and we don't have that activity in the thing. But yeah, it was a good experiment. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we had the user interview with the legal contracts administrator, and we did the prompt for creating a user journey based on that. And so we had the prompts, or we had the results from the 3 different generative AI. And so when it came to ChatGPT, we felt that it didn't cover the question of like a timeline. And it also went back to like update the topics and missed the whole like assignment aspect that he spoke about in the interview. With GPT, though, that was the more popular one among our group because the output used UXR lingo. So for people who do UXR, it was more like along the lines of what they were expecting as the appropriate output for that. It had really concise points, and it captured the pain points and listed their wishes. And so that was more accurate to what you would want from a user journey. That being said, for Watson X, there was no listing of pain points. However, it was concise enough that it would be like good enough for a preliminary report that you would submit, but it didn't like capture any pain points at all, which would not make it very appropriate for a UXR person reading it, but it would be good for a general audience. I would say that the Copilot one was maybe our least popular because it didn't like capture any of the tools that they had mentioned. It wasn't targeting like any of the UXR language that we would want to see in a user journey. And on top of that, it just literally synthesized the interview and like didn't really pull any insights that we were looking for. So it was incredibly generic and just not enough. So overall, I think the GPT was the more popular one in our group. Yeah.
Thanks.
Just want to give an analogy here, right? ChatGPT was that student that gets A grades and pays attention, right? And then Watson, yeah, that's Watson. And then, yeah, Copilot's like the one who wants just B grade. That's not happy with that. And Watson, I don't know what that thing was smoking. Really, very succinct for a good preliminary report, but not enough. No match for ChatGPT.
Thank you for that. And do we have another speaker here? Right here?
All right, so we had the persona for a senior network operations engineer. We definitely had a lot more issues than loves, so we had a lot more to break up about. A big theme was, in particular with Watson, is that it was very biased. So challenges that this individual may face on their workday, it gave that as a weakness, a personal weakness. So we felt like it made things a little more personal than it needed to be. And so same with strengths. Also, Copilot had too many big blocks of text. So for ChatGPT, what we really did like is that it had nice bullet points to really break things down a little bit easier. So that was something we also did not like for Watson. And so we are thinking that we're not ready to use this because for something that's supposed to not be biased, it felt very biased and honestly very personal. Made it kind of felt like Watson was bullying this poor person. So we would not recommend using this. So yeah.
Do we have, is anyone in your team that, oh, right here.
So our team was looking at the journey, and we felt like there were kind of pros and cons to each of the different AI tools. So we liked that GPT had really concise like layout and sort of introduced you to the participant, a little bit of background on them, and then kind of easily laid out. These are the different phases of the journey, and then here are the tools that support that step of the journey and the actions that they take. I think Watson also kind of followed a structure like that, but we felt like it was too concise. Like the summary was kind of missing out on key information. And then we thought it was interesting that Copilot sort of used the language that the interviewee had used. So if you were telling a story about the interview, it would kind of help like keep some of the language that the user had actually used in the interview and sort of help you tell the story in a more effective way. Whereas GPT and Watson were a little bit more like just like tight, summarized bullet points. So yeah, ultimately we all kind of felt like maybe if we had to choose one, we would choose GPT, but all three kind of have their pros and cons. And then the question is like, are you just creating extra work if you're looking at multiple different AI tools to get the best outcome? So yeah.
Awesome. And are we missing any team, or did everyone have, oh, right there? Oh, there is one team here.
Hi, thank you very much. Our team was looking also at the persona interviews, and the first thing that we noticed was a bias in all three. If you look at the name they picked was a predominantly male name, not always, but also the type of last name they picked indicated somebody who was either European or Asian. So it already gives you an idea that this person may or may not be, who the interviewee was. So it might not be reflective. Additionally, ChatGPT did a good job summarizing, but I wouldn't necessarily say the bullet points created a persona. Watson decided to interpret things as it chose and apply, like, as you said, like those negative attributes, positive attributes, said that it was a good negotiator, great at understanding people, patient, that sort of thing. There's no indication of that. And then when you had the other persona that was crafted by Copilot, it also decided to interpret things like a spirited, seasoned network engineer. Sounds like Copilot would be great at writing fiction, but I'm not so sure about personas. So I think overall, we came to the conclusion that this would be not something we'd trust. I would say probably the closest you might get is using ChatGPT for summarizing things to start creating your own. Bye.
And I believe we have one more in here.
So we had the prompt to create a guidance for Kano for whatever it was written, and I started with the Kano, I started with the Watson X, and we were very confused what it was trying to do. It had a summary of what a Kano model is. That was good. And then it went into spitting out some things that was very much left for interpretation with a bunch of asterisks and also typo. And by the way, English is my second language. So if you're getting critique from me that you have typos, not great. Anyways, and then we looked at other outputs from ChatGPT and Copilot. And surprisingly, there are some similarities in the hate part, which is unclear and missing information and potentially hallucinating and lack of context. So for example, Watson X, it was like trying to understand like a 3-year-old toddler, like, what are you saying? What are you saying? I think I'm understanding what you're trying to do. So it was more of a process of understanding what a Kano model was based on the output. The loves were that fast output across all three of them, but I'm not really sure if that's good if you need to like compare across three and actually try to interpret what it was trying to do. So in reality, if we had to compare all three models and then to apply this in real work, I'd rather just, search on Google like the old days and like try to understand myself and then make some questions there. And I would go to somebody who actually knows and has used Kano before. So like I'd say like, hi, I'm Diane. Like, what's your name? Have you used Kano model before? Can you explain it to me? Would you give some critique to the questions that I built? Like, do you think it's a fair framework? So I'm not sure if any of these three models actually did a good job of helping me compared to the traditional ways that we can go about this. But if I were to rate, I'd say ChatGPT probably did the best job if I'm going to apply the results to real work. And then Copilot did remain at a very abstract high level, so it wasn't very applicable. And Copilot is like, oh my God, you're a 3-year-old toddler. So
Awesome. So I think we had already one representative from all of the teams. And I mean, hearing from each other more than hearing from us from a personal review, I think is even more important. This is a topic that is increasing in importance and is becoming really available for everyone to use. It is very easy for people to say, I can use ChatGPT or Watson X or Copilot or any of the tools that we listed today. Something interesting that I heard today was like, for instance, prompt generation is hard. And the way that we ask things, you can have the responses, right? So if you want a framework, you might want to ask for that specific framework that you want. And aiding people to ask the right questions is also very key. Biases. There are some that are working on identifying the percentage of bias that it's in the output. And there is also things that we see, oh, it didn't have any emotional responses that we normally will have in some user journeys. So to say that, oh, this is ready and I'm going to use it is fine. Now, we did have a persona that was a persona that you might not be very familiar with. This was a strategic move because you are the researcher that will be on those interviews. But there is many people who believe, oh, I am a user researcher, I'm the tech seller, I'm the PM, I'm gonna give me the output, I will use ChatGPT. They might not be familiar with the interviews that you participated in. You're familiar with your content, and you can see if it's reflecting what you saw, right? So any person having that output and reviewing that might be a red flag. And we need to make sure that we understand these different tools so we can speak about them. If they are coming to us, we need to check and use and compare. I invite you to try the other ones and see if there is anything else that you will think it's important to know, right? And we did this. So do you have any questions or any comments or? He's coming.
I had a question around giving the interview data to these different AI choices. I know that I'd probably get pushback from my company to put that information in there. So did you ever come up against an obstacle of getting approval to do that? And if so, how did you get approval to put it into the AI?
Yes, that is a very important question. You don't want to put data that it's maybe the next innovation of your company. But one way to overcome that is to see who is powering your AI and what negotiations are in play in the organization. So I can only speak from where I am and like the hybrid cloud environments, right? If you have something that you have negotiations in on-prem, like that you have something that cannot leave your organization or your private clouds, then you have to establish that with the provider. And you have to, you could, if you want to go wild and put the interviews on these different tools, which will be kind of like Googling your interviews, placing it in front of everyone. But these have proprietary information that you might not want to expose. So they have to be organizational things where you have people that say, well, we're going to use or on-premise, or we're going to use our private cloud to be able to get this input. So for instance, inside of IBM, we have a special tool made for researchers that for us to explore and to ask questions. This is not my primary thing that I do at work. It's just that I am interested to learn how it works, right? So people are working on generating prompts and all of these, but all of this data go to the internal cloud that IBM has, right? So in your organization, there are also internal private clouds or on-premise or different setups that you will need to make those, you need to talk about that before exposing it. Or you can also like code the data, like if you definitely want to use something else, maybe you change some things. You talk about company A and you talk about ice cream A, B, and C instead of defining computer A, B, and C. So you will change some of the key words that you want to use to be able to use that. That's what I think. But is anybody else here have any idea?
No. Oh, can I make a question? Oh, sorry.
So usually if you use the paid version, especially the enterprise versions of these tools, they have a walled garden so that when you're putting your stuff in, it's not used to train the model. So you're supposed to have some security. I mean, definitely check all the terms of service and legal contracts and stuff, but usually the paid and enterprise versions will protect your data. So just know that.
Hi, thank you for our workshop and talk. I kind of want to ask you, because I work in AI myself, but I always have issues with the level of accuracy that the results have. So have you ever done an experiment on doing this like in a traditional way versus what AI can bring and compare?
Well, in fact, we try these different ways, right? We work, not the particular interviews that we brought because they are not like the inside interviews, but when we work in user journeys, one of the things that we do, we might have like graphical representations, right? And we might have an IBM, we have the universal experience from like when you are looking for something to when you have it. So the structure that you use in your organization to define a journey is maybe even totally different than what is presented, right? So you have to look into like the way that you ask the questions. We only ask one prompt, and as you pointed out, you couldn't follow up with the paper, right? So that is one thing. And then how will you represent that output that was presented to you? As a researcher, I consider myself really good in research, but not as good visualizing some of these activities. So I have also tried to see if it could help me to visualize that journey, given exact things that I want. And I haven't been successful doing that with any of the tools, really, to be honest with you. I don't feel that they're ready. But they are in a process where like you need to like get familiar. Don't just say, oh, I will never do that. I will advise you to try it, because if you know what it is, you will be able to face it when it comes to you, and you will be able to handle things properly rather than being unfamiliar completely and don't know what you're facing. I know.
Just to follow up on that, I actually was involved in another research study, and we presented that at APOR on comparing automated text analysis to manual, and we compared a variety of IBM tools. We actually did a Krippendorf analysis, which is a statistical measure of consistency, basically, between the AI's comment analysis and the manual, which would be the human coded analysis. And we got about 0.6, which is not bad, but I've heard if you use GPT-4, you can get up to like 90% comparable between. So these were comments from a large survey that we administered. So looking at the major themes within the survey, we didn't actually evaluate ChatGPT-4, but I've heard ChatGPT-4 can get up to like 90% accurate with a manual coder. So they are pretty good for some of the research activities.
The other thing is that, for instance, if you ask, like any of these tools can help you categorize content. But if you ask categorize content and give me an example of a quote that define that, and then you can go back and to your interview and say, oh, this is talking about this, because you don't want just something that is made up. You want to be able to trace the content and validate that, right? So if it gives me a sample quote, then I can say, oh, participant 3 did say this. And now I have a summary of these categories that are from participant 1, 2, 3, and 5. I don't know if that makes sense. And you had another question.
Hi, yes, thank you all for this activity. It was very interactive and very helpful. I have a question about the material that you all used. I work at State Farm, and a lot of times we'll have to come back from conferences and present some information that we learned. Are we able to have access to the materials that you use today to bring that back to our team to do an activity similar to this, or is it only for IBM workers, since you all are from IBM?
We don't have enough papers. You can take pictures. You can take pictures of the different boards. This is our data to share with you, and we are all learning from here. So you can take pictures of everyone's comments. You all hear what people say, so you have a better understanding. And yes, you feel free to go in the different tables and take pictures of the outcomes of what people review, and also the paperwork that we have. If you have one at hand, you can grab that one. If not, you can take pictures.
You shared the specific prompts that you obviously not the data you input.
Yeah.
Like just the questions themselves that you put into the.
Right. So they are on the papers that you have. Yeah.
The ones that you put on the screen are the papers.
Oh, you know what? You only got one paper with one prompt, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, we can share the prompts, or you can send me a message, and I will be happy to forward it. Or
I think all the presentations should be uploaded. I think they provide access to
oh,
anyone
okay.
who joined the conference.
So in that case,
But
I will
the things
ask.
that you share, I'm asking about the things that you shared live when you were putting in.
Right,
you
right.
had prompts there. I don't think that's part of.
Yeah,
What was
wasn't-
that? Oh,
Yeah,
were those
it's-
part of your paper? The
It's-
PowerPoint? I don't.
It's
remember.
not part of the slideshow, but we can add one slide that has the prompts.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. And again, these are prompts for you to test. Remember that prompt generation is very key. And listen to what we learned today. We might need frameworks. We might need to follow up. It's really an art
It's
now.
an iterative process. So generally it takes a number of attempts to get the output you want. So you try one thing and then you refine it again, and then you look at the output, and then it's better, but it's not exactly what you want. And then you refine it even further. I find on average, it takes me about 3 or 4 tries to get, as good as I can get. And then I try another thing. And if it's giving me the exact same thing, I know I can't really refine it anymore. And I've gotten to the end of the refinement. So.
Yeah. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you.